have those same, issues.
Yeah. So one thing is, again, based on some of the things that we're talking about tonight, is to continue to work with our staff on they're at a point where they're still not having a grasp of how to help students understand what they need to do to get that grade, that they're looking for. So if there are teachers who are saying, look, I'm not able to show a student in the grade book what you need to do to improve, well then we're going to need to make sure that they can reach out and say, I need more help, I need more professional development, or I need someone to sit down with me and help me work this through, so that they have a better sense of, or a better understanding of, or a better plan for how students are being evaluated in the grade book.
Okay, and as you go around through the district and work with teachers and directors, what's the general feeling amongst teachers and administrators with the new implementation of this grading system? Are they behind it, or what's your feeling on that?
Okay, so if you want my feeling without trying to project everybody's, feeling.
Yeah, and what they're telling you,
yeah,
and what,
correct.
Conversations are.
Correct. That they're behind it, and that they're still working toward being as good at it as they were on the traditional scale. So, this is a huge change. We have had a grading system that's been the way grading has been done for 100 years or more. Teachers who've had multiple years of career using total points. If there's 1,000 points available in the semester, I need 900 to get an A, I need 800 to get a B. And we're not counting points anymore. We're looking at mastery of standards. And so that's something that's a significant change for everybody. So my sense is that staff is behind it, and they're still working toward making the gradebook set up, and also their plan for how they're going to grade over the course of a semester work well within this system.
Well, like you said, over 100 years the old system worked, and it's been used in this building for over 100 years. Why the change, and is it only us changing? And if it isn't only us, where's the movement at, and where are we, along with the other districts that are implementing this grading system?
There are several districts that are moving toward a standards-based system. There are several districts that are moving away from, again, a traditional points-based system toward levels of mastery to describe or determine or report out on where students' grades are. So we're newer to the game than other districts. Than some other districts are. We're not out in front of everybody else in terms of being the first to do something along these lines.
Now, to pick up on that, so I'm the newest board member, and this decision to go to a new grading system predates me. So I'm just curious, was there discussion? Did you work with teachers? Were they consulted? Did they give their feedback? Are they able to talk to you or to superintendents about what concerns they might have? I'm just curious how this process, you said, is ongoing, how it works.
Sure. So this is a conversation we started with staff in October of 2011.
2011?
Correct.
Okay.
Last school year, we stayed on a points or percentage grade scale, but started with identifying the core standards that assignments were going to be evaluated against. So then this year, we moved away from the points or percentage system into the equal interval scale. So we started the process back in 2011. We got feedback from staff on several elements of what a grading scale would look like, whether there are some districts that students' grades can't be lower than a 50 in the grade book, so they're still using percentage scale, but in order to achieve that equal interval between the lowest passing grade and each of the letter grades, they'll say nothing lower than a 50 in the grade book. Well, the feedback that we got was our system should show no credit for no work, that having that 50 in the grade book doesn't make sense. A student who didn't do an assignment would get a 50, but they might do the assignment and get less than a 50. So some of those elements, are just examples of some of the feedback that we got and how we're developing this. But yeah, this is a conversation that, a process that started in October of 2011.
So this wasn't just dropped on teachers just this year. They should be familiar with this process?
Yes.
I see.
If I'm a teacher and I'm having problems putting assignments and quizzes and tests in the right buckets, so to speak. What are my resources as a teacher to get that worked out or get help so I could better understand this grading system? Because I've been here for 40 years, or 20 years, let's say, as a teacher, and this one, I'm not ready for it. So what are my resources to get help with this?
Okay, so first of all, they're part of the team. So within that building, if we're the sophomore English team, have an opportunity to work together during late start days twice a month, and at departmental time during half-day institutes once a month. They have a director that they can communicate with for their content area about these issues. You had asked about, can teachers communicate with me? They can and do all the time.
Well, I guess maybe you could help me out here. So I'm just trying to understand, are we passing kids with a 20%? Because, you've got this 1, this 2, this. So for example, if I'm a student and I get 60%, that's a D, correct?
Correct.
So are we lowering the standard? So now only 20% is a D? Is that the way it works? I guess I'm not understanding this equal interval.
That's a good question. So if an assignment is scored on percent correct or number correct, okay, the minimum passing score is a 60%. Okay, so when a teacher evaluates these exams or assessments or assignments, if they're grading it on number correct or percent correct, the minimum passing score is 60%. Okay? In Skyward, because Skyward only wants to see percent, Skyward calculates grades based on percents. It won't. We don't set up Skyward, or can't set up Skyward to understand that 0 to 1 is an E, 1 to 2 is a D, 2 to 3 is a C, and so on. So that's where the confusion lies, where people are saying you pass it with a 20%. That's not the case. If you're earning less than a 60%, you're going to get less than a 1 in the grade book. Okay, so it's not 0 to 20 earns you a 1. If it's a percentage graded assignment, 0 to 20 earns you on the order of a 0.3, which is 0.7 away from passing. The purpose of equal interval is so that the impact of that individual 0 is not as significant as on the percentage scale. So for example, if I get 100% on one assignment, and I get a 20% on another assignment, okay? Average those together on the traditional scale would be a 60%, a D minus, okay? On the equal interval scale, that 100% would be worth a 5.0. On the equal interval scale, that 20% would be worth a 0.3. That equates to a 5.3 divided by 2, right, if we average those two grades together. And that would give the student a 2.65, which is a middle C. So high A and a failing grade is a C average instead of a D minus average, with the idea that the student should redo that failing grade to improve it, but it doesn't have as devastating of an impact as on the traditional scale where you have this inequitable span between each of the grades.
Is that maybe where people can say that it looks like it's easier?
I think so, yes. Yes, that's part of what's in some places being argued, is it looks like you only need, or maybe it's even being said you only need a 20% to pass, but that's not true.
But, and that is done because you're measuring the standard, not the percentage. You're looking at the standard and saying, you know this much of the standard, rather than averaging the two grades and saying you're a D minus.
Correct. Also, understand that there are assignments that it's appropriate to evaluate against, like a rubric or a proficiency scale. There are assignments that teachers will likely always grade based on number correct. So in the grade book, they have the flexibility to enter a grade based on number correct, but they have to convert it to a score from 0 to 5. And they do that by, if it's a 78%, that's a 2.8 in the grade book. Or if, like I say, if it's a 40%, that I believe is a 0.6 in the grade book. So 40% is not a passing grade. 0.6 is below 1. That's not passing.
Now, you mentioned rubrics. Do teachers have rubrics? Do departments? I mean, is it clear to teachers and students and departments what we're looking for, what the standards are, so that students can come to a teacher and say, okay, I'm getting a 3. How can I master a standard to get a 4 or a 5? Can you produce rubrics? Can teachers produce rubrics for students to make it clear?
Yes, they can. Now, there are, again, assessments that have traditionally been multiple choice, those kinds of things that we continue to work with teachers to move away from that. So again, that's a process that's going to go on all the time. You know, there's assessments that have been traditional assessments that we want to move away from to get to more performance-based. But yes, there are rubrics that exist for assignments that are evaluated based on those levels of mastery of standards if they're not being graded on percent correct.
Thank you, Mr. Truesdell.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mahanti for the Chief Financial Officer.